This conference will now be recorded.
And then I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. That'll turn it over to the presentation. So once 7 o'clock rolls around, we should be good to go. We've got a couple other people hopping on. And Mayor, once you get the meeting started, I'll just make a quick announcement for the guests that are joining us about how they're going to be on mute until either they send me a notice in the chat that they would like to voice a public comment, or something like that. But I'm gonna go ahead and turn share screen on right now.
Okay. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started then. It is now 6 o'clock, and I call this meeting, pardon me, January 11th meeting to order. The first item on the agenda will be approval of the minutes from the December the 14th meeting.
I move to approve the minutes of December 14th, 2020.
Second.
Okay, are there any comments or questions? Okay, if none, would the clerk please call roll?
Adams?
Yes.
Cahar?
Yes.
Malott?
Yes.
Shriver?
Yes.
And Stites?
Yes.
Oh, I forgot the Pledge of Allegiance. Excuse me, people. Let's kind of back up and do the Pledge of Allegiance. My computer didn't want to hook me up, and I was getting a little frustrated why it wouldn't do it. But anyway, let's back up and do the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
An old friend of ours, a familiar face, will be lining up against the Chiefs' defense, Kareem Hunt.
What was that?
That sounded like we were getting an update for the upcoming football game. So everybody needs to remember to mute when they're not talking, make sure they mute.
Right, okay. The next item on the agenda will be statement of bills paid in an amount of $415,791.78.
Mr. Mayor, make a motion that we approve the statement of bills paid of $415,791.78.
Second.
Who did the second? Who are you putting in?
I got Councilmember Stites for the second.
Thank you. All right, if there are no questions or comments, would the clerk please call roll?
Adams?
Yes.
Cahar?
Yes.
Malott?
Yes.
Shriver?
Yes.
And Stites?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. The next item on the agenda will be requests or comments from the public. And Zach, I'm going to turn that over to you.
Thank you, sir. If you're joining us via the web browser and you'd like to make a public comment, please send me a notice in the chat. If you're calling in, just wait for a second until I recognize the people who have sent me a chat, and then I'll just kind of put it out there and try and manage it that way. I don't think we have too many people who are doing it via the phone, so that'll be the easiest to do that. So while I'm waiting for people to send me a chat notice if they'd like to make a comment, I would like to share, because we did put this out, that we'd be accepting public comment via email. Brian and Tyra Aldaffer at 840 South 9th Street sent in the public comment saying, we are really pleased and impressed with the service provided by Casey Disposal already. An Atmos Energy truck had parked in front of one of our trash cans last week. The Casey Disposal driver exited his truck, rolled our can into place that he could, to a place that he could use his truck and empty it. He went above and beyond. Anecdotally, I will say Casey Disposal, I know they've only been on the job, this will be their second pickup tomorrow, but they've had rave reviews from the folks who have had any interactions with them. And as a lot of you are aware, they helped us out with the service failure at the end of the month in December. So Casey Disposal is really off to a great start in that respect. And I appreciate Brian and Tyra sending that in. I'm not seeing any chat comments come in. So
Okay.
if you are calling in to the meeting and would like to make a comment, can you please indicate so now? I am not seeing any, not hearing anybody calling in who would like to make a comment, but I am seeing somebody from the chat who put in, this is President 629 South 6th Street, who are also loving Casey Disposal. So again, off to a good start with Casey Disposal for their solid waste contract. And Mr. Mayor, that's all the comments I've got for us this evening.
Thank you. Then we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, and that would be to consider Mayor McTaggart's reappointments to the city's citizen advisory boards and commissions. And you have those in your agenda.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, just for everybody's benefit, the 3 members up for reappointments on our citizen advisory board. We have Amber Duran up for reappointment at the Cemetery, Parks, and Public Spaces Board. Mark Bishop and Aaron Harves both have appointments up for the Planning Commission, and all 3 have indicated that they would like to continue serving.
Thank you.
Waiting for a motion. Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve your appointments to the Amber Duran, Mark Bishop, and Aaron Harvest to your boards.
Second.
Okay, was that Carolyn or was that Margaret?
I got Carolyn Gahar for the second.
Okay, very good.
I have a question.
Okay.
In the table that you have Amber, you say that all 3 of them are 3-year terms. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And Amber, would it expire in February 2024?
Well, if you remember, whenever we consolidated the board, the cemetery board and the parks board, we had to kind of play around with the tenures because we had to stagger those out so we can ensure a quorum as that moved forward. So that's why for the cemetery, parks and public spaces board, for this year and for next year, there might be some terms that came up that are actually coincide with previous terms that we had to kind of massage a little bit to make sure that they all lined up and we had the same number of appointments coming up at the same time. So those are structured so they're staggered.
Okay, thank you.
If there are no further comments or questions, would the clerk please call a roll?
Adams,
Yes.
Gahar,
Yes.
Malat,
Yes.
Driver,
Yes.
and Stites.
Yes.
Okay, the next item will be consider resolution 2021-01 adopting the 2019 Kansas Region L Hazard Mitigation Plan.
Mayor, council members, before you tonight is the updated version of the hazard mitigation plan as proposed by the Wyandotte County Emergency Management Director. The existing Wyandotte County Hazard Mitigation Plan was updated this past year, where it is strongly recommended by the Department of Homeland Security that the hazard mitigation plans are updated on a continuous cycle. Originally, this was supposed to be done in 2022. Emergency management had decided to do it in 5 years, and it was just done this over this past year during the pandemic. If you are familiar with all 378 pages worth of the mitigation plan, it is not the emergency operations plan. It identifies target hazards and risk areas that deal with certain identified risks that are either natural occurring or man-made, such as here in Kansas is usually the flash flooding, the thunderstorms with tornadic activity in large winter storms, as well as man-made events that could be such as a terrorist event. There really is no cost to this at all. However, it is tied into any future FEMA funding opportunities for mitigation projects, such as what the community center being built as a storm shelter was, as well as reimbursement opportunities from declared disasters. Staff recommends that the City Council adopt the resolution 2020-21-01, authorizing the city to adopt the Wyandotte County Emergency Operations Plan. If there's any questions, I'll try to answer them.
Chief, just to verify, is it the emergency operations plan or is it the hazard mitigation?
I'm sorry, the hazard mitigation plan.
Thank you.
The emergency operations plan was already adopted.
Right. It said on that staff memo, it says operations, but it's the hazard plan. Thank you.
The hazard plan, yes.
Hey, Chief, I had a quick question for you. I've tried to scan it through and I didn't notice any transfer of power. It seems like just mostly risk management and a lot of numbers for land and people and things like that. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. There will not be any transfer of power. That should be located under the emergency operations indexes, which is part of the emergency operations plan.
Thank you.
If there are no further questions, the chair would entertain a motion to adopt the resolution 2021-001.
I didn't have a question. I have one more thing I just wanted to mention that maybe we could keep in mind. I noticed under the Wyandotte County, what they've agreed to do for mitigation, and then what they're still planning on doing. And some of that was to provide backup generators, build bridges and raise roads in low-lying areas, install lightning detectors, and those were specifically county-wide. And so I just thought it might be a good idea for us to keep track of that and maybe as the time comes, remind them that we're also in the county and could be included in those budget items.
Thank you, Carolyn.
Chief, also, I have a question. Is the civil disorder, is that an addition to it this year, or was that in there in the past?
It was in there in the past. Previous hazard mitigation plans has been in since about the middle of the 90s when they first started the mitigation plans. And that was due to the Los Angeles riots was the first time that it posted into the mitigation plan.
Thank you, Chief.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 2021-01.
Second. You can have that one, Margaret.
Okay. If there are no further questions or comments, I'm going to ask the clerk to please call roll.
Adams,
Yes.
Cahar,
Yes.
Malott,
Yes.
Driver,
Yes.
Stites.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Now we've taken all that in. It's time for advisory reports. Mike, you're up.
All right, I have a few items here. This evening, y'all probably saw I sent you 2 emails. One, there's a LKM video that's been put out about cities and the services are provided and about the, how those are funded through taxes, et cetera. And so hopefully you get a chance to look at that. about halfway through there, you might see some familiar faces. It might even look like you're looking in a mirror at times. So I hope you take a chance to look at that. The other thing I sent to you was just kind of an update related to the street plan. Dustin and I are still kind of putting the touches on that one. But I did send you kind of the latest PACER and PCI. Again, they're both a form of ratings. They use a little bit different methods, but as I noted, if it's a PACER uses a 1 to 10 scale, PCI uses a 1 to 100 scale. They don't fall exactly the same, but generally, if you see something that's a 4 or 5, you're going to probably see it in the 40 to 50s on the PCI. So just you have that. I know you all had requested it, so I wanted to get that to you, and we'll be coming back with a more formal presentation, hopefully at the next meeting is our plan. The other thing that I'm working on, we had discussed somewhat, was trying this year to go ahead and having a new council retreat. It's been a few years since we've done that. Probably a little different format maybe than in the past. So I'll probably be reaching out to you about times. It would certainly not be until later in the kind of spring or early summertime we'll get past this time. I think it's something that would need to be done in person more than online. And so there might be some meetings one-on-one or something like that with the person that I'm thinking of using for that process. So I'll get with you on that. Just kind of wanted to put it out there that that's something that we're working on. I think it'd be valuable as we kind of come out of a kind of a weird time and moving forward and everything else. It's probably a good time. And it's been, I don't know, several years, maybe 4 or 5 since we kind of looked at our goals, objectives, et cetera. So I think it'd be a good time to do that. Trash. Let me first thank Zach and Heather both. They got the brunt of probably hundreds of calls. It was a complete disaster by Waste Management. I finally was able to talk to their general manager. I got an email today kind of saying, okay, we got everything taken care of. I think they completely and totally missed the point. I will note that we still have outstanding, 2 outstanding bills, one for November, one for December. In reality, probably November, since there was no service issues per se, we need to pay that so we're not delinquent. But I'll be putting together a deductions and some other recommendations on that. And until we have that ready to go, we will not be paying those bills. So I think I've expressed my opinion clearly to all of you at one point or another over the last few weeks. But I mean, there's nothing to say but a complete and total failure by Waste Management to perform. I don't think there's anything else we can do. Again, I do want to thank Zach and I want to thank Heather because they took a lot of calls. I even went out and literally picked up trash for a person because what we were hearing, I think, is true. They were going through, and if dumpsters were full and it was the crew to pick up the normal pickup, just to get the containers, they were taking the trash and setting it on the ground. If I heard one of the, only heard from one person, I think maybe it was just too much trash, but we heard from dozens that same thing occurred, and totally and completely unacceptable. So we will continue to address that. I think our new partners, KC Disposal, was, stepped up. We talked to them. I think it was Monday morning when it, clearly it had been a week and nothing was being done. They went out, kind of drove the city and agreed to literally pick up every container, regardless of whose name was on the side of it. There was a charge for that, I think a very reasonable charge, and that will definitely be deducted from any payments to Waste Management, again, along with some other penalties that are in the contract. The last one, we kind of failed on snow removal on this last cycle. I could give you lots of reasons, new people, just lack of communications, but We certainly didn't get it done. We've already been having discussions about that, doubling up our efforts. And so I expect at our next snow event, unless it stays like this week and we get 60s for the rest of the year, which I would be okay with, we intend to do a much, much better job than we provided in this last cycle. So we are fully aware of that. We know there was a number of complaints. I know both Dusty and I both were in town over the, driving the streets, and I think we both concur that it wasn't up to the standard that we would expect. We do have some areas that are difficult, some of that in this kind of downtown area where we have these small circles, or some of them aren't even circles, and people park literally right in the middle of them, and so it makes it difficult to try to clean those out. And if we push the snow, then we end up blocking driveways, and we don't want to do that either. So some of them are just challenges that are there that we just have to work around, and we'll keep working around them. I think with that, I've probably addressed all the things I had on my list. I think Zach has a couple of other items he wants to address, and otherwise, Mayor, I'll answer questions if there are any.
Thank you, Mike. Okay, if there are no questions, are there any questions to Mike? Okay, seeing none, Zach, your turn.
Yeah, real quick, I just want to remind everybody on the call tonight that we will have a CPPS meeting this coming Wednesday. It's largely going to be a work session item, kind of planning out for 2021. Kind of the big things on the docket for that group is going to be the continued development of the Riverfront Park, pursuant to some of the goals and plans that were put into the long-range parks plan that was reviewed at the end of last year. Also, we'll have an update on the project related to the green space south of the mobile home park. Other items that are going to be discussed, cemetery maintenance items, and some of the projects that they're wanting to get accomplished, including some items around fencing, and then obviously Stony Point restoration is still an item that group wants to tackle. And then Parks and Rec programming is going to be another one. Obviously, we're still kind of dealing with public health conditions as they are, so we're trying to get creative, and I think we were able to get creative at the last two quarters of last year and really come up with some programs that I think are going to have some legs past COVID. So that's the goal that we're working with for this coming Wednesday, and then setting goals for the rest of the year. And then I mentioned those kind of programs. Here are some pictures from. We haven't had an opportunity between our last meeting and now to just share some details about the Ho Ho Express and the crinkle cakes for community event that happened on December 19th. The top picture is that kind of shows the Ho Ho Express parade crew that we had assembled. It was a kind of a short turnaround, but we still got Fastenal and Casey Disposal to help participate. They showed up with some decorated trucks. Later on that day, the fire department was able to bring some of the donated items that were collected during the pancake feed to the senior care facilities in town. Pretty much all the departments within the city were involved in that event in some fashion or another, whether it was admin helping package some of the materials or do some of the shopping for the families in need. Obviously, Parks and Fire Department took the lead on a lot of that, so I do want to thank Mike Martin, our Parks and Rec supervisor, and then obviously Chief Whittam being the driving forces behind that. And I'd be remiss if I didn't recognize our Santa Claus for that week. And those events were such a big hit that they're going to have some life in 2021 and beyond. And obviously we'll tweak it as we get closer to it and try to expand it and make it a little bit bigger. But by all accounts, those were pretty well received events that I think went off pretty well. But other than that, and just a quick reminder, we do have Martin Luther King Day coming up a week from today, so city facilities will be closed. And that is all I have at this point.
Zach, thank you very much. Next, Chief Mathis.
Hi, good evening. Not much to report. We're doing a number of year-end things and first of the year things. So a lot of that kind of transition. We've stayed relatively healthy with only a few COVID scares. And our booking room project is moving right along, but it's been on a slight delay because we're ordering glass. So we think that in the next 3 weeks that will be completely done. We just continue to go out there, and from a 50,000-foot view before we get to our final year-end report for 2020, we had a pretty active year. And even with those few months that we had a really reactive position because of COVID timeframe. So had we had probably the average of those other busy months, we would have had a pretty, really, maybe near a record year. So busy, and we're solving crimes, and we're going out there and protecting the community. So that's my report.
Thank you, Chief. Chief Whittam.
Good evening. Pretty much Zach had covered what I wanted to discuss on the Ho Ho Express and the Kringle Cakes event. Again, thanks to all the city staff that had helped that day, made it the experience that it was, along with the Halloween haunt. As many are aware, we lost a part-time paramedic on January the 1st due to COVID. Jason Taylor has been here for a little over 3 years. We have been in contact with his wife. We will have a presence at the funeral service on the 23rd, so expect to see mutual aid agencies covering the city during the hours that our entire department is out to support his wife. I would like to work with the city manager and the mayor and try to get some sort of recognition for his wife before our next council meeting, or the next time we meet in a live venue, to acknowledge his service to our community. Other than that, that's all I have at this time.
Thank you, Chief, and I think that will get done. Thank you very much for those comments. Okay, next will be Dustin, Public Works.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me, Zach?
Yes.
Yeah. My computer was giving me some trouble last meeting, but I got a headset on now, so we're good. Just Mike touched on the snow removal, and I would like to apologize, but also recognize that the crew was out there over the holiday and over the weekend, and they did work really hard. It was just a matter of we did have 5 inches of snow, and maybe got a little gung-ho and cleared it before it was actually all the way on the road. So do apologize for that, but it was a little bit of a communication breakdown, and I do think we'll do better next time. But otherwise, we did get it cleared off in the next 24, 30 hours or so. So that's about all I got now. Just kind of trying to gear up with the road plan, and hopefully kind of start to give some of my ideas out there that we'd like to do moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Dustin, very much. Lisa, City Attorney, any comments?
I don't have anything. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, we'll start with the council. We're going to start with you, Chuck Stites.
Okay, I want to start off by saying, Chief Whittam, I appreciate what you're trying to do for Jason Taylor's widow. That I hated to hear that, and that hit me hard for somebody local like that in our community, and working with us to succumb to COVID. So I appreciate that, and I'll also say that I had the opportunity to work with the fire department and the police department on Christmas Eve. And I would like for both chiefs, fire and police, to let their staff know that how much myself and my family appreciated what they have done that night to work with us and help us out through that. It was really appreciated. Both departments did a great job, and I appreciate that very much. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck. Margaret?
First of all, I would like to say my thoughts and prayers go to Chuck Stites and your family. What a devastation on Christmas Eve, but thankfully no one was hurt. Things can be replaced, and it sounds like you were well taken care of. And Chief Woodham, that is a wonderful thing you're doing for the whole department to go and show their presence for the funeral. That, what a tragedy hit right here at home. So I'm glad you're all going to have the opportunity to do that. Next, Casey Disposal. I am glad, so glad they have stepped up and proven to be such a wonderful company. I know Waste Management, like you said, Mike, it was a disaster. And I know there was an ice storm that Tuesday. I know there was things that happened, and not only Edwardsville didn't get their recycle picked up, Bonner Springs didn't get their recycle picked up for days after days after days with ice, freezing temperatures. The recycle was blowing around. I did help a few neighbors pick up their stuff. It was a disaster. And Casey Disposal, I can't thank them enough. And I've heard so many praises that they stepped up and have really, really started off on a great foot with us. The streets, I'm glad the Pacer test, or the Pacer ratings, you said, Mike, will be done soon. Hopefully we can get a plan out there for at least the pothole repairs. I think many people see the social media, the comments. I know there's comments come across. I think Zach and Mike are aware, but there's potholes everywhere. I know it doesn't feel good to say, here, we're going to start here, we're going to start here, because it doesn't seem fair, but the Pacer ratings will be a great guide to say, well, here, this is a 5, this is a 1, so we're going to start here first. So that way, and if we can relay this information to the community to let them know, here, we've got this. It doesn't have to be sentence by sentence, but just give them the information that we did the Pacer rating. We're going to start here, we just got to get something going. And I know it's winter time, but this has been a long time coming. I think some of these potholes in this city have been there for a while. It's not like they just happened. So I'm excited, and hopefully that can get going faster than we expect. Last, I would like to thank Carolyn Kahar again. She organized a harvesters event on Saturday, and I know I worked with her last time the harvesters, she set that up. I think Carolyn said there was about 170 families that signed up, and I am a firm believer there's so many ways, and so many ways people give back to the community, but to work at an event like that when people are in such need is such a privilege to work at. And I know how hard Carolyn works to get that prepared and organized, as far as getting all the volunteers there, down to getting Mike Martin to come open the community center. So thank you, Carolyn, for doing that. Thank you, Carolyn, for helping so many families. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Garrett, you're next.
Condolences to Chuck Stites. I know I talked to you earlier about that. A horrible thing that you had to go through. And definitely thank the fire departments that were involved and the police departments that were involved in helping you through that horrible, horrible time. I really feel bad for you. Mike, I've had a few calls from constituents about a few of the things at the cemetery. And I will come down and visit with you on that. I don't want to air that out here in public, but I'll come down and visit with you on that. So other than that, that's all I have tonight.
Thank you, Garrett. Carolyn?
I have to unmute really quick. Let's see. I'm looking forward, and Margaret already mentioned, I'm looking forward to the streets plan coming up next meeting. We know that's an ongoing effort to get our streets repaired and get even some big plans in place for streets. And hearing about 98th Street hopefully coming along pretty soon is really exciting. And so I'm looking forward to that. I I was going to see if next meeting we could maybe have a review of our community service policies and procedures, just so we know when somebody goes to court, if they get assigned community service, what happens next from that point all the way until it's done, just to make sure that work's accounted for and we're being a good steward of that opportunity. And then also some folks that reached out to me about the cemetery, Zach, the broken headstones and things, that'll be discussed at the CPPS board meeting, I imagine. Would that be correct?
Yes, ma'am. A long-term maintenance strategy for those stones will be discussed Wednesday, or at least
Perfect.
the introduction of a long-term maintenance plan is.
Perfect. I wanted to take a minute to just thank those that are serving and have been reappointed on the advisory boards. We really appreciate your service to our community. Those things are very important and keep us running. A couple of examples of loss in our community in the last few weeks have really shown how our community, but especially our fire and police, pull together and serve each other and our community. And that isn't uncommon, but I think they go even further in Edwardsville, and it's noticed by everyone. And then last, I just wanted to do a quick recap of our Harvesters event last Saturday. It takes a lot of people to pull that off. I surely couldn't do it myself, and so just wanted to thank Harvesters, Edwardsville Christian Church, who sponsors it. Price Chopper donated bags. Mike comes and gets the doors ready for us. Zach and Mike from the city do a lot of, especially Zach, a lot of promotion for me and behind the scenes work, answering phone calls. The fire departments come down and help, and they're a great asset when they're there. Margaret came down, a ton of community volunteers. We were able to feed over 400 people. We distributed 18,308 pounds of food. We stocked up Von Trent and Feed His Lambs, which are local pantries, and we brought groceries to the high rise in Edwardsville that fed dozens of seniors. And so overall, I think it was a great event to serve the community, and a lot of people pulled together to make it happen. So thank you to all of those folks. And that's all I have for tonight.
Thank you, Carolyn. Chuck Adams?
I too want to recognize all the holiday parties and the outreach that all the staff members had into the community. And I thank the chiefs for organizing their departments and making it a high priority for the city. We really do have a great community feel in the city, and I appreciate those efforts. It means a lot. I'm sure there's some families that greatly appreciate it as well. So I noticed that we have a metal detector in the city hall. When will that be functional?
That's actually currently functional right now. Whenever you came in and saw it, it just wasn't plugged in because that's behind the security door. But the idea is for all public meetings going forward, it's functional right now. There's a security officer right now manning it. So if somebody were to come in and wanted to view the meeting, we've got it on the monitors here, then they would be able to do that. So that is currently functional, as well as a metal detector that we've got over at the community center that's going to be serving the municipal court function. Those are both functional.
Okay, great. And Chief Whittam, would you let us know about the funeral timing for Jason?
Yes, sir, I will.
Thank you. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, Chuck. Well, I'm going to try to be brief, but I still think it's important that I give recognition to all the folks that have participated in so many events for the city. And Chief, thank you for your comments about your deceased employee, Jason Taylor. That is a tragic event, really was. And thank you very much for that. Chuck Stites, once again, I'm going to give you my condolences. And as I said to you recently, I think about all the things, the personal effects that you lose in an event like that. A house can be replaced, but all those personal effects cannot. So anyway, and I want to thank the council for the reappointment to the advisory boards for this coming few years whenever their terms last. There again, Carolyn, KR, thank you so much for all your diligent work for these events, the Harvester program and everything. Really do appreciate that a lot. And so I want to give a shout out also to Mike Martin. He has been with the city for several years and is one a terrific person to have around to help out in those things. So other than that, I think we're done, and I will now adjourn the meeting. Thank you all.